In this video, I share with you an important lesson on how you can leverage technology to get a competitive advantage and succeed getting your goals. And it's from the 30th President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge.
Hi, this is Terry Brock. I wanted to share with you a very important message of something that I was reading about and really got through to me, and I think it's going to help you. Now, if you do any kind of presentation or you do speaking, you're going to be able to relate to this. If you're using any kind of current technology for video broadcasting, like right now, I'm using a little tool called Zoom. Great little tool, and it gives the ability to record a program like I'm doing now, recording it on my computer. You could also broadcast live to a group or to individuals. Really like it a lot. But I was reading the other day in a book that I read something about a president that we had in the past here in the United States, Calvin Coolidge, and what he did to overcome a weakness and to overcome some competitors using technology. And when I saw what he was doing, I thought, that's it. This is the same kind of thing that we can do today. And I wanted to share this with you. So those of you that are making speeches or you're doing some kind of business and you want to get ahead using technology, here's a way you can leverage it. It's a lesson that we can learn from Calvin Coolidge. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to share my screen here. It's just you, just us here. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and I want to make sure that you get exactly what we need to do here as I optimize this and share the screen. And there we go. And now here's what I've got. You can see on the screen, there's a book here. This is a Kindle book that I've got. Let me move a couple of things around here so you can see it really well. This is talking about radio. Radio was a technology of that time, and it had proved Coolidge's friend. On the radio, you didn't need to have a strong voice, but a clear one. Now, why would that be? Well, you see, in that era, it was really important to have a strong voice, and prior to that particularly. Matter of fact, there were people like William Jennings Bryan. William Jennings Bryan was a candidate for president in 1896. He ran against William McKinley, and he lost. And he had a famous speech called, "Don't be crucified on a cross of gold." It was a big thing back then. Matter of fact, here, let me share something with you here. I'm going to come back over here. There's Calvin Coolidge, and over here is Bryan's cross of gold. You can hear this. You can go over to historymatters.gmu.edu and then 5354. There it is. So you could do that. You could hear it yourself. It's really nice. But he talks about this. And matter of fact, what I want to do is let you hear William Jennings Bryan himself.
Of the country, creates wealth, is as much a businessman as the man who goes upon the board of trade and bets upon the price of grain. The miner who goes down 1,000 feet into the earth or climbs 2,000 feet upon the cliffs and brings forth from their hiding places the precious metals to be poured into channels of trade.
Yeah, I'm going to pause him right there. You get the idea. He was a great orator. He could stand up on a tree stump, sometimes literally, and speak to a group of people with no technology involved, just with his voice, and really project and make it very dramatic, very theatrical. An orator, a classic orator. Now, whether you like his style or not, I don't know. I'll have you know, I did not vote for William Jennings Bryan in 1896, okay? So just be clear on that. But I found that his oratorical style matched a style back then that was really respected. Well, here's what happened is we had Calvin Coolidge come along, and Calvin Coolidge was a little bit different. Matter of fact, bouncing over here to YouTube, let's listen to a little bit to Calvin Coolidge, who was President of the United States.
Price to pay his taxes. The manufacturer, the professional man, the clerk must do the same from their income. The wage earner, often at a higher rate when compared with his earning, makes his contribution perhaps not directly, but indirectly in the advanced cost of everything he buys.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, just from their speaking ability alone, When you look at where they are, that's a whole different thing. They're two different styles. William Jennings Bryan, I think it had over him. Now, he was still around. I think he died during the 1920s. I need to research that of when he passed away. He was a very prominent figure, and that whole style, Senator Follett from Wisconsin ran against Calvin Coolidge, as well as the official Democratic Party candidate. Say, well, Follett was more of a progressive. He was Republican, but he ran against him. Well, Calvin Coolidge was up against these guys, and he did not have that strong oratorical style. He didn't have that rhetorical style. He was the kind of person that was more quiet and shy. And it's great that today I can actually show you that, on YouTube and use the other, and you hear William Jennings Bryan. So what do? Well, how do you compete against that? Well, Calvin Coolidge used technology. He used the technology of his day. Let's go back here to sharing screen. I want to share something with you that I think is really important. I'm going to come over here to Kindle. And on Kindle, this is the book that I've got here. Matter of fact, we can remember we're coming up here to page 512. I'm going to go back here to the cover. And this is from the book called Coolidge by Amity Shlaes. I think that's pronounced correctly, but I might be wrong on that. Amity Shlaes. And he's got a great book, by the way. Real long book, about over 1,000 pages, but real handy on that. Well, what I want to do is I want to go here to a location. I'm going to go to the page 512. I was reading in there. And there we go. That's it. And over here, the radio, the new medium, had proved Coolidge's friend. On the radio, you didn't need to have a strong voice, but a clear one. And Coolidge's was clear. It had wire in it, as someone would say later. The next day, St. Louis station KSD telephoned the White House to ask about a small problem. That grating noise had been the rustle of Coolidge's papers as he turned the page. See, this was a new medium. His was the very first presidential inauguration to be broadcast over the radio. So it was really interesting. Most impressive of all was Coolidge's boldness. It takes guts to stake your presidency on an issue, and Coolidge had done that for Mellon's tax bill. He had a certain cause he was pushing for. And so I want you to know what he did is on that. Calvin Coolidge did something that you and I can do today. Well, I don't mean we're going to use radio, but I'm going to mean you take technology and you leverage that to get ahead. That's what he did. He knew that he didn't have the bombastic style, the rhetorical dynamism that you would hear from a William Jennings Bryan or Follett or others. But he could be close and real to people. He used radio for that intimacy, and people would gather around those radios. This was cutting edge, breakthrough at that time. Now, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, used it even more to connect with people after his election in 1932. 1933, when he came in as president, he developed the fireside chats. In those fireside chats, people would gather around to hear. They go, oh, the president's on. We want stop everything. We want to hear it. There's a magical intimacy that comes from audio. Today, we're doing it with podcasts. Many people become die-hard, loyal fans of whoever's doing their podcast. And we're seeing it also with people that are growing to love video on YouTube. So you've got the audio and the video there. What I want you to know is that you've got an advantage. Learn a technology that helps you overcome any disadvantages. What did Calvin Coolidge do? He knew that he couldn't stand up and do all the rhetorical things. He also knew that he didn't want to get out and traipse around the country doing everything. Matter of fact, that's what killed his predecessor. Warren G. Harding ultimately died on a road trip. He died in San Francisco. He had been pushing. You know the kind. Some of you speakers, you know I'm talking to you here. You're out there, very little sleep. Diet's not real good. Exercise doesn't always happen. And stress, holy Toledo. Stress when you're pushed and the flights are delayed, you get in, and you know what it's like. You get in at 2:30 in the morning and you're supposed to get up at 5 and give that speech to the 100 billion people, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that killed Warren G. Harding and all the stress. Coolidge was very familiar with that. And so he found out about radio. And with radio, he started pushing the edge there. He could do more, reach more people with radio than they could with him hopping, doing those whistle stops all around the place. Now, there's a place for that. There is a time when you want to be out there and be physically with people. But when you can create that bond, that comes from being there in the reader's mind, in the listener's mind, I should say, the listener's mind, right there with them, you can do a lot. So my message to you, dear speaker, dear communicator, however you choose to do it, use the technology that will help you multiply and get a decisive advantage. That's what Calvin Coolidge did back then in his time, and that's what you can do today as well. Hey, I want to hear from you. Let me know what technology you're using, what's working best for you, and how you're using it. And if you disagree with this, I'd love to hear from you on that as well. You can drop me a note. Terry@terrybrock.com is my email address, and I will look forward to getting your message and hearing from you. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me.